ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Now let's offer the Mangalacharan prayers, starting with Guru Pranam all together. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य
Anjanashalakaya
शलाकया
Chakshuramilim
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन
येन
Tasmai
तस्मै
गुरवे नमः।
श्रीगुरवे नमः।
Shri Chaitanya Manavika
श्रीचैतन्यमूर्तिष्ठं स्थापितं
Apitam
येन
Maha
भूतले
Bhutale
स्वयं
स्वयं
रूपकदामह्यं
रूपं कदामह्यं
तदा
ददाति पदान्तिकं।
Vandeham
वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं
वन्देऽहं
Shriyuta
श्रीगुरुपादकमलं
Shri Gurun
श्रीगुरून्
Vaishnavaംsha Shri
श्रीरूपं
Rupam
सकलजातं
Sagratam
सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं
Sajivam Sadvaitam
साद्वैतं
Savam Parijana Sahitam
परिजनसहितं
Krishna Chaitanya
कृष्णचैतन्यदेव
Shri Radha
श्रीराधा
Krishna
कृष्णपादान्
Pradhan
सहगणललिता
Shri Vishakha
श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च
He Krishna Karuna
कृष्ण करुणा
सिन्धो
सिन्धो
Jagat
दीनबन्धो
दीनबन्धो
जगत्पते
जगत्पते
Gopesh
गोपेश
गोपिकान्त
गोपिकान्त
Bhakanta
राधा
राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते
नमोस्तुते।
Tapta Kanchana
काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे
गौराङ्गी राधे
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
Vrishabhanu
वृषभानुसुते देवी
वसुते देवी
प्रणमामि
प्रणमामि
हरिप्रिये
हरिप्रिये।
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
पञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
Kripasindhubhyo
कृपा
कृपासिन्धुभ्य
सिन्धुभ्य
एव
एव
च
च
पतितानां
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो
वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
नमो
नमो
विष्णुपादाय
विष्णुपादाय
कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले
कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले
श्रीमते
श्रीमते
भक्तिवेदान्त
भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनामिति नामिने
स्वामिने
नमस्ते
नमस्ते सरस्वते
नमस्ते
देवे
गौरवाणी
गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे
प्रचारिणे
निर्विशेष शून्यवादी
निर्विशेषशून्यवादी
पाश्चात्य
पाश्चात्यादेशधारिणे
जय श्री
नमस्ते
कृष्ण चैतन्य
चैतन्य प्रभु
प्रभु
नित्यानन्द
नित्यानंद
श्री
श्री
अद्वैत
अद्वैत
गदाधर
गदाधर
श्रीवासादि
वासादि
गौरभक्तवृन्द
हरे कृष्णा
हरे
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 कृष्णा
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 कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्णा
हरे हरे
हरे हरे
हरे
हरे राम
राम हरे
हरे
राम
राम हरे
राम
हरे
राम हरे
राम
हरे।
हरे हरे।
श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री मद् भगवद गीता की जय। हरे कृष्णा। So, okay, so we are reading from the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and last week we discussed 27th verse, the 27th shloka, yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi dadasya yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. So Krishna says that whatever you do, whatever you eat, yad ashnasi or yat juhoshi, whatever you worship or offer, or dadasi, whatever you give in charity, or whatever tap you do, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, do that as an offering to me. So everything must be done as an offering to Krishna. Every activity, whatever we do, that has to be. Krishna is saying this, in not anybody is saying. Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita that do this as an offering to me. So we'll continue with the next verse today. So why we should do that? Why is he asking us to do everything as an offering to him? So let's recite this 28th shloka. शुभाशुभफलैरेवम्. You want to unmute?
शोभफलैरेवम्
शुभाशुभफलैरेवम्
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
vimukto upaiṣyasi
vimukto
upaiṣyasi
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
vimukto upaiṣyasi.
vimukto upaiṣyasi.
Let's take few recitations. Rajesh Anantaraman Prabhu, you want to lead, please?
Yes. śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
mokṣyase. थोड़ा मोठा कर बघा. It is too small.
Okay.
Slightly.
This is better?
Yes. Yes. śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
vimukto upaiṣyasi.
vimukto
upaiṣyasi. Prabhu, you want to lead?
Prabhu. śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
śubhāśubha-phalair evaṁ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
mokṣyase karma-bandhanaiḥ
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā
vimukto upaiṣyasi.
vimukto upaiṣyasi.
Thank you so much, Madhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So let's do word for word translation or synonyms. Shubha means from auspicious. Ashubha means an inauspicious. Phalaihi, phala means the result of that. Evaṁ means thus. Mokṣyase means you will become free. Karma means of work, and bandhana means from the bondage. Bandhanaiḥ means from the bondage. Sannyāsa means of renunciation. Yoga means the yoga. Yuktātmā means having the mind firmly set on, mind fixed on. Vimukta means liberated. Mam means Krishna is saying to him, to me. Upaiṣyasi, you will attain or you will come to. The translation is, in this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So in this way, so what is this way? So this is referring to the previous verse, what we studied last week. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi dadasya yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mad arpanam. So by performing, so he said that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever worship you do, whatever charity you do, or whatever tapa or austerity you do, tat kurushva mad arpanam, do that as an offering to me. So when you do that as an offering to Krishna, Krishna arpanamastu, everything for Krishna's pleasure. So in this way, by doing that, what will happen? You will be freed from bondage to work, karma-bandhan. So you will not accrue or you will not incur any karma-bandhan. And what type of fruits does the karma-bandhan create? And its auspicious and inauspicious results, shubha and ashubha phala. So everything what we do in this material world creates two types of results. It gives us either auspicious results or inauspicious results. So that in generally be called as punya and papa, or pious activity and impious activity. So its results are accrued, and then we have to experience those. We have to get the results of those. So that is what is karma-bandhan is. Now, sannyāsa-yoga-yuktātmā vimukto mam upaiṣyasi. So when you are with your mind fixed on me, yukta atma, in the principle of renunciation, with the thought of sannyasa yoga, in the sannyasa vritti, that is completely detached from material enjoyment. When one is engaged, completely his mind focused or thought of Krishna, and that's how he works in that way, you will be liberated, vimukto. You will be freed from all the material bondage. And mam upaiṣyasi, you will come to me. So you will get liberation and you will come to me. So that's what the purport of this today's verse is. The translation of this is. So why Krishna is asking in the previous word that do everything for me? Is Krishna incompetent or incompatible for doing everything? Or is he in need of anything? No. Rather, he is the one who is giving us everything, including our energy, our senses, our body, everything, and the material paraphernalia, whatever we have around us. Everything is given by Krishna. But still he is asking, engage, do everything for me. If you are eating, eat for me. Or eat my prasadam. If you are worshipping, worship me. If you are giving charity, give charity to me. If you do tapa, do that for me. So why do we do that? So he's saying that because it is for your benefit. You will be benefited because you will be freed from shubha and ashubha, both the types of karma bandhan that the activities create. Okay, so I'm just going to mute everyone. Let's read the purport. I see Kiran Prabhu has joined. Kiran Prabhu, you want to read the purport?
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. One who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called yukta. The technical term is yukta vairagya. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows. Anand Saksha. Can you
Yes.
please read it?
So this is anasaktasya vishayan yatharam upayunjataha nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called yukta vairagyam. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind, and as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyotir, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mama upaiṣyasi, he comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. There are 5 different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. But although a pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so. It is said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. The exact words are Tanara Vakya Kriya Mudra Vijaneha Na Bhujaya. Chaitanya Charitra Charitravarta Madhya 23.39. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord, or is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord, is to be considered completely liberated at present, and in the future he is going back home, back to Godhead, is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticism, just as Krishna is above all criticism.
Thank you very much, Kiran Prabhu. So
Thank you, Prabhuji.
beautiful purport. So Prabhupada starts with the very nice verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada has translated in English as Nectar of Devotion. This is one of the very, very sweet and beautiful book by Srila Rupa Goswami, who is one of the 6 prominent Goswamis that we follow in the ISKCON or Gaudiya Sampradaya. And he was disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. So, and that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prabhupada always quotes that as a law book on the path of bhakti, because Srila Rupa Goswami has given all the different kinds of instructions how bhakti is the highest or the epitome of our human form of life. And pure bhakti, there are different levels of bhakti. So what we try to do in the beginning is when we start worshipping Krishna in the deity form in the temple, or so that is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi means we follow some rules and regulations, Vidhi, and that is following what is called as Pancharatriki Vidhi. So Pancharatriki is given by Narada Muni in his Narada Pancharatra, and those Vidhi needs to be strictly followed by performing that bhakti and puja of the deities. So that is in the beginning, and then the next stage is how we progress, and then eventually we develop bhava bhakti, and ultimate goal is to develop prema for Krishna. And that Krishna prema, when actually in the end, Prabhupada mentions that in the end, when a Vaishnava, when he is completely in the bhava or prema of Krishna, then he doesn't have to follow any rules and regulations, because the purpose of rules and regulations to attain that stage. So sometimes he may seem to be acting in such a way that he is not following the instructions, but he is still actually, he is at a stage where he does not have to follow the instructions. And that's where Prabhupada quotes this verse, or the exact verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, Tara Vakya Kriya Mudra Vigneha Na Bujhai. So Tara means he is referring to the devotee here. So that devotee is his Vakya, whatever he is speaking, Kriya, his karma, or his bhava, mudra, or his expression, everything. Vigneha, somebody, even if he try to understand it, he will not, na bujai, he will not understand it because he is completely at a different platform. He's completely at a different level. He lives in a spiritual world, even though he's so-called in the material world, but he's at a platform where he's spiritually enlightened and he's always dedicating his life only for Krishna's service. And here there are two definitions actually. Two things he mentions, Srila Rupa Goswami, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So one of them is Yukta Vairagya and one is Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya means something that is a fake Vairagya. Fake means something that is not real. So he gives two definitions. One is of Yukta Vairagya, that's Prabhupada quotes here. So anasaktasya vishayan yatharam upayunjata nirbandha krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. So a devotee, he does not reject material things just because they are material, so that, oh, I don't care for this, I'm not going to use this or anything. No, he takes those material things, but he's anasakta, he's not attached to them. He's not using them for his own sense enjoyment, just like a cell phone. So a cell phone can be considered as asakti. We are all attached to cell phone. But if some devotee makes sure that he properly uses only for the service of Krishna, for reading scriptures, for communicating with devotees and making plans so that Krishna's plan can progress, then he's not attached for it. Even if he loses phone, it doesn't matter. So anasaktasya vishaya. Vishaya means the sense objects. So for tongue, vishaya is rasa or taste. Tongue always wants to taste something. That's why there is a big business of restaurants, right? How it is running? Because everybody wants to taste something different. So all these different senses are always looking for sense objects. Those are called vishaya. So he is not attached to the vishaya, the sense object. Yatharam upayunjata nirbandha krishna sambandhe. But he uses all the material things, how? In Krishna's service, even though he's not attached to it. So that way he is sannyasi, but he accepts material things to use them in Krishna's service. So that kind of vairagya or sannyas, it's called yukta vairagya. But somebody who rejects the material things, not knowing their connection with Krishna, because everything is Krishna, right? Krishna says, Bhumiraapano lo vayu khamano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashda. That everything that is material, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, all these are my separated material energies. We read this in the 7th chapter, I think 5th verse or so. Fourth verse. So he says that everything is Krishna's. But the sannyasi who rejects those material things, oh, I don't care for this, I don't want this, not knowing their relationship with Krishna, everything is Krishna's energy, and not engaging them in Krishna's service, then that type of vairagya. But in the mind, he is always contemplating on the vishayas. Oh, I must have enjoyed that, but I have rejected this. So he's controlling his mind, but he's always thinking about those objects. Then that kind of vairagya is called Falgu vairagya. So yeah, that's what Prabhupada mentions here. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna says that without acting, without working, we cannot even maintain our material body. And because we have to maintain our material body, which technically does not belong to us, it is given by Krishna, and we should use that for Krishna's service, so that we cannot stop working. So we have to do something. We have to work by our 3 faculties that are given by Krishna to us. That is kaya, vacha, manasa. Our body to act physically, then vacha, our ability to speak something, and by mind, in thinking, we perform some activity. So we cannot stop acting, we cannot stop working. But when one uses all these, and after working, engages all those fruits of action only for Krishna's service, then that is real sannyasi. That is called yukta vairagya. And that's what in the previous verse Krishna said. Yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasya yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurusho mad arpanam. So everything we should act in Krishna's service directly or indirectly. Directly by serving him in different ways, in temple worship or giving his instruction or propagating his knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita or other ways, or indirectly we go to work, for that work we get some money and we engage that money in Krishna service. We give that in charity. So whoever is engaged in that his direct service, we give it to them and then they engage that money for Krishna service. So that's how we work. So actually that person is situated in the mirror. And by doing such activities, what happens? Our mind or our consciousness is cleansed. Such activities clear the mirror of the mind. Cheto darpanam arjanam. And slowly by engaging in such activities, we progress on our spiritual journey. We progress on our spiritual path. We understand then slowly that very first instruction Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuyati. Krishna says in the second chapter that we are not this deha, but we are dehi. We are the occupier of this deha. So, and our original nature is spiritual spark. We are spirit soul, not this material body. And our duty is to serve Krishna. So that is self-realization. So when he is in spiritual realization, he completely becomes surrendered to Krishna. And then in today's verse, he mentioned that what happens by this working for Krishna, he's freed from all the shubha and ashubha activities. So shubha and ashubha, so there are few verses I was thinking about. I think there is one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam where we all know the story of Dhruva Maharaj, right? Dhruva, who did tapasya for getting some material boon. So after he got darshan of Vishnu, so he Dhruva Maharaj goes back to God. Yeah. So after he got the boon from, so why did he worship Krishna? Because his stepmother kind of chastised him and she said, you do not have right to sit on the lap of your father Uttanapada, or you are not even heir of this throne. You will not get the throne because you did not take birth from my womb. And your father doesn't like your mother. So he was very, very angry, being a Kshatriya blood. And then he went to his mother and she said that what your stepmom said is true. And then you should go to worship Vishnu or Krishna. So then he asked, where can I find him? So she said, that poor lady, she said, I have just heard that people go to forest and worship him. So he set off for forest and then Narada Muni met him on his way. And Narada Muni tries, and that time Dhruva was only 5-year-old boy. So Narada Muni tried to stop him and then he said, no, if you can tell me where I find the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, Krishna or Vishnu, then only tell me, otherwise don't talk to me. So Narada Muni saw that, oh, this case is very serious. And then he gave him the mantra, the one we recite in the beginning. So Narada Muni gave him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he said, you go to the forest and chant this mantra and perform this type of tapasya. Within 6 months, he did such a severe austerity that Lord Vishnu appeared in front of him, and then he asked for his boon. And then after seeing Lord Vishnu in front of him, Dhruva Maharaj, because of his austerity, his heart was completely purified. And he said, what am I looking for? I was looking for something so insignificant, the kingdom or big kingdom or something like that in this material, big planet, something like that in this material world. When I have Krishna in front of me or Vishnu in front of me, I don't need anything. So he said, Swamin kritarthosmi, varam na yache. Oh Swami, oh Krishna, oh Vishnu, my life has become already kritartha. I don't want any word from you now. But Krishna is so merciful. He knows his devotee's heart, and he said, you worship for me, so you will get all the benedictions. You go home now. And then after that, then he became eventually king. And then how long he remained king? How long he ruled the kingdom there? Kshatriyamsha Varsha Sahasram. 36,000 years. So this historic pastime happened in the yuga called Satya Yuga. That time people used to live for 100,000 or 1 lakh years. Then in Treta Yuga, the lifespan diminished to 10,000 years. In Dwapar Yuga to 1,000 years, and in Kali Yuga to 100 years. So he ruled for 36,000 years. So Dhruva Maharaj ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. He diminished the reactions of pious activities by enjoyment. So, and by practicing austerities, he diminished the inauspicious reactions. So that's what Krishna is saying in today's verse, śubhāśubha-phalair. So by working, by performing pious activities, we will accrue or we will collect śubha-phalair, the reactions of pious activities. And by unknowingly or knowing doing some sinful activities, by engaging in papa, we will incur some sinful reactions, and then those for we have to suffer. So what did he do? Bhogai punya-kshayam. So by enjoyment, his punya become kshaya. So he has to, by performing, the karma-bandhan is something that is created, is such that even if we perform pious activities, even if we engage in punya, we have to take birth again to enjoy in this material world. And is this material world enjoyment place only? No, Krishna says this is dukkhalayam ashashvatam, because the real problems are janma mrityu jara vyadhi. So even if somebody is taking birth in the material world for enjoying his punya, enjoying his pious activity, he still has to suffer from janma mrityu jara vyadhi. He is not free from this. But so Dhruva Maharaj, he diminished kshaya, diminished his pious activity by enjoyment, and diminished the abhogair ashubha kshayam. So ashubha activities he diminished by working, getting into tapa. So if somebody has done some impious, if he is smart enough and he accepts some tapa voluntarily to diminish his impious activities, that person is called smart. So sometimes people may ask, why do we have to do fast? If fasting for God is so pious, then there are bhikaris on the street who are fasting unknowingly because they don't get food and they do fast. So aren't they accruing so much punya? I think unfortunately those people do not understand the laws of karma. So either you voluntarily fast and diminish all your impious activities for pleasure of Krishna, that I am willingly doing this. If you are not doing this, then you are forced to fast by becoming a beggar. So the beggar who is fasting or who is forced to fast is because of his impious activity. That doesn't mean actually we should not be judging him and then saying that, oh, let them suffer and let them, because he's only suffering because of his karma. A Vaishnava is never like that. A Vaishnava is always very, very compassionate towards every living entity. Forget about only human beings. Surudam sarva bhutana. A sadhu is titikshava karunika suruda sarvadehinam. These are the qualities of sadhus that Kapil Dev mentions. So he's suruda, he's very compassionate friend towards all the living entities. But what we are coming to is that he is there, the beggar is suffering because he has done some impious activities and he's just getting the fruits of those activities. So that's what Dhruva Maharaj also, he diminished both Shubha and Ashubha-Phala smartly in that 36,000 years of lifetime that he ruled over the kingdom. And then eventually he went back to Godhead. So coming back to today's verse, and then what is the mode of a sannyasi then? What is the mode of a true Vaishnava? So anyone who has no interest but to dedicate his life in the service of the Lord. So he never thinks of anything. He doesn't collect any property. He's not worried about self-enjoyment. And we have practical examples in this world even today. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was the perfect example of this. He traveled to United States with 40 rupees in his pocket just to fulfill his Guru Maharaj's desire that he was instructed to preach or teach this Krishna consciousness or Vedic knowledge to the English speaking world. And because of this, Bhagavad Gita is read all over the world and the whole world is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And one more person I can think of him just now is our Guru Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who unfortunately left this planet last week. But he built, only in Delhi, he built like 18 temples and gorgeous temples. And when he passed this, his will was read publicly, he owned nothing. The only property he had was a Rolex watch. That was also Prabhupada's watch. He gave it to him. He passed it on to Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And then then in his will gave it to one of his devotees, one of his disciples. But other than that, he had nothing. Zero. He dedicated his full life, almost 60 years or so, only for the mission, the instructions that Prabhupada gave him, and only for serving Krishna and giving this knowledge again to the different people. And he has the most number of disciples he had actually in Russia. There is a city called Moscow in Russia, and in that city, so there are small congregational programs that happen in a city. They are called Bhakti Vriksha. Not only temple, but small home programs. So I learned some time back that in Moscow itself, in one city, there are 130 Bhakti Vriksha programs where local devotees congregate and study Bhagavad Gita, chant Hare Krishna, do Kirtan, and do their service. And all Russian devotees. Here also in our congregation, there are Russian and Ukrainian and Mexican devotees. They come and they're dedicated their life for Krishna service. So that's the mode of a Vaishnava. That is real sannyas. So he works really hard, but not for himself, not for gaining or creating property for himself or anything, but he will work very hard for serving Krishna, for serving Guru's instructions. So that's what the mode of a true Vaishnava is. And then we already touched about this. The Vaishnava authorities, sometimes they are the most intelligent person cannot understand their plans. Many times Prabhupada did some things which his disciples will not understand. He took certain decisions because his purpose was only how can I give Krishna to the whole world? Because the whole world is suffering in this material world and I want to help them. And the only way to help them is by giving Krishna's instructions, Krishna. So that's what the mood of a devotee is. Because even the principle of the Vedas is satatam, smartavyam satatam Vishnu, vismartavyam na jati chot. Only always remember Vishnu or Krishna or never forget Krishna. That's the only sarva vidhi nishedasur etayor eva kinkara. All the vidhi and nisheda are subservients of these rules. That's it. If somebody is following the rules but they are not remembering Krishna or not thinking about his instruction, then that following of rule, just mechanically following rule, has no meaning. Because the purpose of Vedas, purpose of the Puranas, purpose of the instructions of everything is to serve and remember Krishna. अनादि बहिर्मुख जीव कृष्णा भूली गेला अत एव कृष्ण वेद पुराण करीला. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that Jivatma, he is anadi, but he has become bahirmukha. He is attracted by the material nature, the external energy of Krishna. Anadi bahirmukha jiva. What happened to him by attracted by Maya or external energy? Krishna bhuli gela. He has forgotten Krishna. And ataeva, therefore, Krishna Veda Purana Karila. That is the reason why Krishna has created these Vedas and Puranas and given this instruction of Bhagavad Gita in the Mahabharata. That's the whole purpose of all the Vedic literature, because we have forgotten Krishna. And that is the reason Krishna has created all the Vedic literature. So the purpose why Krishna says that everything you do show for me, because that way, when you act in that way, you will be freed from all the pious as well as impious results of karma. Even the pious activities are said to be binding. So a devotee does not even engage in pious activities. He does everything for Krishna only. And by doing this, you will be freed. Vimukto. And what kind of mukti? Upaiṣyasi, not merging in the Brahman. That is some kind of mukti that the jnanis aspire for, merging in God, merging in the effulgence of God, or Prabhupada mentions here, right? Brahma Jyotir. Yeah. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyotir, but rather enters in the planet of Vishnu or Vaikuntha planet, so that he can engage in service of Krishna. Actually, Krishna's devotees, they don't desire even any kind of liberation. They are not interested in liberation. All their interest is in how I can best serve Krishna. That's the only desire Krishna's devotees have. They are not interested in liberation or anything. So there are actually 5 types of liberation. Sashti. Let's look at those words actually. That here itself we can look for that. Kapil Dev, he mentions this in 3:29:13. Salokya Sashti Samipya, Sarupya Ekatmamita, Diyamanam na Granhati, Vina Mat Sevanam Jana. So Kapil Dev, who is also incarnation of Krishna, or he is Krishna himself, when he is instructing to his mother Devahuti, so he says there are 5 types of liberation. Salokya. Salokya means a person who gets liberated. In Salokya type of liberation mukti, he can live in the same loka, same place as Krishna lives, in the Vaikuntha planet. Sarshti means he can get same opulence like Krishna or Vishnu. Sarupya means he get the same type of form, Chaturbhuja form, like Krishna. So Vishnu Dutas, when we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, when Vishnu Dutas come to protect Ajamil, so they are in the four-arm form, just similar to Vishnu. Sarupya or Ekatva. So Ekatva is something merging in Krishna's effulgence. That is the Brahma Jyoti. So these are the different 5 types of liberation. Salokya, Sashti, Samipya. Samipya means living close to him. Sarupya, Ekatva. Diyamanam na grihnati. So Krishna says that even though I give my devotees this type, all these liberations, na grihnati, they do not accept it. Why? Vina mat sevanam jana. If that liberation does not give them opportunity to serve me, sevanam, mat sevanam, his seva, vina mat sevanam. So without getting his opportunity to do his seva, they don't accept this, any kind of liberation. So they are not interested in liberation, and particularly the ekatvam, because that is merging in Krishna's effulgence, where you are completely merged and you lose all your identity. That kind of liberation devotee never accepts. Kaivalyam narakayati. Tridashapura akasha pushpayati. Kaivalyam means that liberation for devotee is like naraka, like hell. So they don't accept that type of liberation. So that is the one point I just wanted to touch here, which Prabhupada mentions. So I'll stop here. Lots of things, but we can get some reflections. Thank you so much again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yes, any reflections, Prabhuji's?
Actually, Sri Krishna says that he is responsible for all we do, and yet we don't understand. I mean, whether the fall is auspicious, inauspicious, he said, give it to me. You just be free of all these things. Where do you find anybody being responsible for us at any stage in life? At every stage, we have to, when we are in the material world, we have to take responsibility for every action. Here is somebody who says, I'm taking responsibility, you go ahead. That should actually encourage us to get into this with much more conviction and faith. Correct.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Krishna says clearly that I am the one who is running this whole show. But unfortunately, we think that we are the doers. Yes, thank you for bringing that point. Hare Krishna.
प्रभूजी मला वाटतं की कृष्णाने सगळ्यात सोपा मार्ग सांगितलाय बहुत की टू गेट फ्री फ्रॉम द बॉन्डेज ऑफ वर्क जे म्हणताय की यू व्हॉट एव्हर यू डू यू अर्पण करा मला and in the smallest or simplest form.
Yes.
And that is the easiest thing one can do to get free from all these work of auspicious and inauspicious things, what they do or come across, right? And
Yes.
just fix mind upon me. म्हणजे माझ्या भक्तीत तल्लीन व्हा किंवा माझी भक्ती करा आणि get freed from or get liberated from all these bondings, I'll say. Right? And that is the simplest way, in short, is trying to tell is bhakta.
Yes.
That's what I can understand from this.
No, that's
just
true.
In conjunction with the previous verse where he has mentioned that, right? Phala pushpa toya
Patram pushpam phalam toyam.
Yeah, right. त्याच्यात पुढचं continuation आहे, right?
Yes.
And by doing all these things, you will miss. It is not that I am not having this or you have these things, that's why you give me. No, but just by doing these small things and concentrating on me or fixing on your mind on me, probably you will get liberated from all your deeds from this. That's what I'm thinking of.
No, that's true. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that is actually true, because in general, even life is very simple actually. But we are the one who complicate it. It is very simple, but we complicate things. So, but yeah, and that's what all our Vedic literature teach us is simple living, high thinking. Because however hard we work, we all have a specific quota. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magradha kasya siddhanam. The Ishopanishad says that everything actually belongs to Krishna, and all of us, when we are born, we have a specific quota. However hard we work, we are going to get that quota, nothing beyond that. But our mentality to encroach upon others' property, encroach upon others' right is there. So that's what that verse says, that one should not try to get more than his quota, knowing very well that whom everything belongs. That everything belongs to Krishna, and I have been given certain control over certain things for some time, and then eventually it will be taken away from me. But we work so hard, and that's why working hard for material things is not recommended in our Vedic literature, not even in Bhagavad Gita. But yeah, thank you so much for making that point. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji's more thoughts.
Prabhuji, just to add to what we said, not only whatever we see, we call it as हे माझं आहे असं नाहीये. जे काय आहे ते आपण अर्पण करायलाच पाहिजे. पण आय थिंक दिस वर्स इज बियॉन्ड दॅट. इवन आपण जे काही करतो त्याच्या नंतर जे काय व्हॉट एव्हर द रिझल्ट ऑफ दॅट ऑल्सो आय थिंक भगवान इज सेइंग दॅट ते आपण अर्पण करा, वेदर इट इज गुड, बॅड, एनिथिंग.
Yes.
Our intentions should be pure. Sometimes even with pure intentions also something may not work out, or something may not happen which is right, probably. So even that also, without thinking whether it is good or bad, we should, even that also we surrender it to the God, and we should say, okay, this is what माझ्या स्वल्प बुद्धीला जे काय सुचलं त्याप्रमाणे मी केलं, आणि that also we surrender to him. So this is, I think, इवन बियॉन्ड दॅट. म्हणजे आपण जे खातो पितो, जे काय करतो, प्रसाद म्हणून अर्पण करायचं, आपले बाकी तर सगळ्या गोष्टी आहेतच. म्हणजे जे काय आपण कमवतो त्यातलं पण आपण लास्ट टाइम वी सॉ दॅट ओके, इवन वॉट एव्हर वी अर्न आउट ऑफ दॅट वी शुड गिव्ह समथिंग, ते पण आपण भगवंताला समर्पण करायला पाहिजे. पण आय थिंक दिस इज इवन बियॉन्ड दॅट वॉट भगवान इज सेइंग, दॅट ते तर आहेच, ते तर करायला पाहिजे ते, पण इवन त्याचा जो काही रिझल्ट आहे दॅट ऑल्सो यू सरेंडर, which is something really which beyond thinking. Means you can't even, what a thought it is. Like, and as I think some time back I remember you had mentioned very earlier that even at the end of the day you just with folded hands and say Hare Krishna to the Bhagwan and say that okay, मला आजचा दिवस मी जे काय केलं हे काय केलं, वॉट एव्हर माझ्या बुद्धीला सुचलं त्याप्रमाणे केलं, ते सगळं तू सांभाळून घे म्हणून एवढं जरी आपण केलं, इट मेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरन्स, आय थिंक.
Very true. Yeah. Even that understanding that I am not the doer, he is the one who is making me do this all things, and I am doing all this only by his will. That is also very important. I think in today's day and age, the definition of success has been so mispresented.
Yes.
So that is the problem of today's world, and that's why we have become so competitive, and we are jealous and envious of each other. Because the definition of success in the Vedic literature is it's putting in your honest, full effort.
Correct.
That is the definition.
And dharmically.
Yes, Rajesh Prabhu.
Success everywhere was the win of dharma. Today it has become personal, thinking we are the ones who are doing it.
Mhm.
This is what even education is today trying to impart, saying you are the best. Which actually, yes, they may be right at that point in time, but we are seeing the consequences
Mhm.
of a world that is, out to cut each other. In fact, I was just thinking, he was Brahmandacha Saglat, earliest Mayhuna statement. And we are looking at ICICI and thinking, wow, that statement. So, uske bahut ages back, he had already made that statement when he
Mhm.
told Arjuna. But see, the realization comes
Mhm.
at its own time. काय करायचं?
Thank you, Prabhu. Any final thoughts? Rajesh Parve Prabhu, Madhusudan Prabhu.
Nothing from my side. I was everybody has expressed actually many things. Yeah. थोडं मला मध्ये कॉल पण आला होता त्यामुळे थोडं डिस्कंटिन्यू झालं मध्ये.
Mhm.
Anyway, I will read it after our this thing. I will go through that again.
No, this is very, more and more we read it, more and more we realize that, oh, this is very clearly said and we had no idea about these things.
No.
But okay, so we will stop our discussion here.